This video is brought to you by my supporters on Patreon. Hi guys, so this was just kind of a spur of the moment video. That's why my face isn't ready for the camera. In this video, I'm going to be talking about how to take your own cosplay photos, or just how I take my cosplay photos. Obviously, you can upgrade your situation as you go along. I'm going to start out with the basics and then talk about the different upgrades that I made and then show you my setup. To start off, you're going to want a camera. Something other than your cell phone camera is definitely recommended, but if that's all you have, work with it. A lot of the new smartphones have a self-timer option now, so use the self-timer options on your camera or phone, or have a friend help you. I'm going to go over shooting from your home first, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about shooting on location. So if you're shooting from your home, house lighting sucks. You don't want to use that lighting. You don't want to use your yellow fluorescent lights. It's going to make your photos look bad. What you're going to want to do is stand in front of the largest window you have and shoot only during the day when it's fairly bright. You're going to want to stand in front of that, or at least some place in that room with the curtains fully open, making sure all the light's coming through. I've also seen people shoot out of their garage and use the garage door. That lets a lot more light in than a window does, so a lot of people will put it at the halfway mark, and that has plenty of light coming through for them to shoot. So you don't need studio lightings right away. You can totally work off natural lighting. In fact, that makes really great lighting. Second thing, you're not going to want your house behind you. Even if you plan to Photoshop out the background, it's going to make it a lot more difficult. Photoshop does a pretty good job at recognizing a person from its background, but less so if there's a bunch of stuff going on and the colors in the background kind of match your costume. It starts to get it confused, and it makes just editing a lot more harder than it needs to be. But you don't need a backdrop or anything. You can work with a bedsheet or a thicker curtain even. Just hang that up behind you between two furniture pieces or between two walls, depending on how big your room or bedsheet is. Or hang it up on the wall behind you. If you have a blank wall to shoot on and you don't plan to shoot your feet, that's probably good. If you don't mind getting the flooring in, or you can even Photoshop that out later too, that's fine, shoot full body. I have a carpet, so you can see little carpet ridges on your shoes if you shoot on the floor of a carpet, on a floor that isn't hardwood or tile or something. It makes it harder to edit out because then you have to go through and correct all these little bumps. You don't need a backdrop, although backdrops aren't that expensive and you can get them off the line for a fairly decent price. I usually buy a lot of my backdrops off of eBay, and they range between $8 and $20. And lastly, you're probably going to need something to put your phone on, or your camera, or whatever you're shooting with. Tripod is good. Tripod is the easiest route you can take. Tripods are a bit more expensive if you get the tall tripods. I have like a 5-foot tripod or something like that. You can do the usual stack stuff on top of each other and put the camera there and have that act as a tripod. That does work. It kind of limits what you can do with photos, but it will work for the time being. The other option is to get a friend to help you, or a sibling, or your parent, or someone who's cool with helping you. But if you are taking the photos yourself, like I mentioned earlier, you are going to want a timer. When you're working with the DSLR camera, depending on your camera, this may vary. You're probably going to want to shoot in manual focus rather than autofocus, because autofocus will focus on you when you're up here clicking this button, and then when you run back and the timer is going off, it's not going to refocus. So if you shoot in manual focus and have it focus on the spot that you'll be standing, in order to help you kind of figure out where that is, go ahead and set something where you'd be standing, such as a mannequin if you have a sewing mannequin, or a chair. Focus on that spot and then come up, press the button, make sure you've moved all the stuff out of the way, and take your pose. It's good to set it to the 10-second mark so you have time to kind of adjust, as well as practice your pose before you go and press the button. If you do have a camera that works with a remote clicker, definitely opt into those. They aren't too expensive. I believe mine was $7 once or something, and it works perfectly fine with my camera. What I do a lot of the times is take the picture and then move my hand to wherever I want it to be. My camera has a screen that faces this way. I'll tell you what to do if you don't have that in a second. But I usually look at the screen and see if the clicker is noticeable and adjust my hand until I figure out a spot where the clicker isn't too noticeable, and then I'll click real fast, put my hand back in that position, and take the picture. If there's just no way you can do that because your hands are like ta-da out here or something, another option is to take that pose twice. Have the clicker in one hand for one photo and then the clicker in the other hand for the other photo, and Photoshop them together later. Not all cameras have the front-facing camera. If you don't, my camera didn't have that for the longest time, my old one. So what I would do when I took photos with that is I would set up a mirror behind the camera so that in the mirror I could then see the camera screen and I can see what I'm doing. Alright, so if you're going to be shooting on location and you don't want to feel awkward about having a tripod or something and taking all the photos yourself by yourself in a cosplay, have a friend help you. This is what I do. You don't need anyone that knows a bunch about photography if you kind of have everything planned out yourself. I'm going to talk about upgrading your equipment a little bit, and this is the setup that I currently use, which I will show you guys in a second. I upgraded to a 5-foot tripod, and I got that off of eBay. I think it was between $15 and $25. I also got a studio setup for lighting and backdrop. Alright guys, so this is my studio setup, This is my backdrop. Right now I have a green screen on it because that's the last color that I worked with. Alright, over here is the different light fixtures that it came with, as well as the carrying case where all the poles and tripods and everything can fit in. This is the tripod that I usually put my camera on, and right there we have one light. Actually I have 3, and then this is a currently closed window, but this is the large window that I stand in front of. It's almost floor to ceiling length. If you don't always want to be photoshopping in your backgrounds and you are shooting at home, you can buy some backdrops. You're going to want to pay attention because certain backdrops work better than others, and certain backdrops have a kind of limit of what you can shoot or how you can shoot with them. So continuing on with the background topic, if you plan to Photoshop it out yourself, there are a lot of stock images out there to use. So Pixabay is probably my favorite place to go because they are all free. Of course you can pay for stock images. There's also an option, which is actually a really good option and something that I do a lot, and that is to take a lot of your own stock images. So if you are visiting places or traveling to places that you don't really get to go often but they have some cool scenery, it's probably still a safe idea to snap a couple of photos from different angles and different distances. So if you want to further continue to upgrade your equipment and you do like shooting on location, invest in some portable flashes. I hope you guys found this video helpful, and if I come up with anything else, I don't know what I'll do. Well, I'll figure out how to let you guys know somehow. Yeah. Thanks for watching though. I hope you all have a lovely day. Bye!